all roads lead to Durban as the future of the continent's transport sector is brought under the spotlight. Today, leaders and operators in the transport sector are gathering at the Inkosi Albert Luthuli ICC complex as the Transport Evolution Africa Forum and Expo kicks off. Now, this comes at a time when the number of accidents on our roads are increasing at an alarming rate. So much so that Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula has set his eyes on using rail network to move cargo once again. This in order to relieve pressure on the roads by reducing the number of trucks. ENCA senior reporter Dessen Tathia is following those developments. Let's cross live to him for an update. Dessen, what exactly have people in that particular sector, stakeholders, etc., have said is a solution to some of the problems we face in our transport industry?
Well, Maseko, that's exactly why this conference is being held, to try to find some of those solutions, to find, I guess, a convergence of these three elements, the rail, roads and port, finding what works, not just here in the country, but also beyond our borders. So part of the conversations that will be had here is how that can be improved. So where I am currently is the exhibition area. You'll see that there are some workshops that are taking place here. There are various stands, people and organizations that are displaying their wares. So it's not literally just about those elements that I mentioned to you. It's also about new technology in the various areas. People here showing us how telecommunications can be improved. Others that are showing the use of drones, for example, in improving the transport sector. But certainly one of the important topics here will be exactly what you mentioned in your intro about that transition back to rail, improving that rail network. In fact, in the opening statements, that was one of the comments that was made by a representative from the Transport Department, saying that they are fully aware that there are more trucks on the road than there should be. So over the next 2 days, they will be unpacking some of these topics. I had an opportunity earlier to speak to the organizers. Let's listen into a conversation that I had with Leanne Hay.
The only and largest event that actually gets together ports, rail and road within the entire African continent. There are about 3,800 people that are coming through the events, and we have many of the CEO of ports and of the rail authorities across Africa that really are coming to discuss how we move forward with the African Free Trade Agreement within the transport sector, because obviously it's the basis of getting global trade up and running for Africa. So that is sort of finding the investment gaps, how can we actually move forward, and most importantly, some of the cross-border issues and how can we make it more efficient across Africa, so for the logistics corridors. So, yes, there's a lot of interest. We've probably got over 35 countries attending, and of those we've got Angola, we've got DRC, we've got obviously South Africa, Mozambique, Kenya, Tanzania, and Cote d'Ivoire.
And Dessen, in terms of the fact that the transport minister in our country is saying that we might have to, move to rail, the rail agency, or rather industry moving cargo. Has anybody in the rail industry told you how they feel about that, but also versus those who are in the freight industry? Maybe their members are going to lose, livelihoods.
I was actually chasing Transnet to have that conversation about where we are on that side of things, because we've heard about this grand plan to go back to rail, but the rail network needs to be up to scratch before that can happen. But I was looking around earlier, and the Road Freight Association is here, and as you know, Gavin Kelly is here. He speaks for the trucking industry as well. Gavin, excuse me, sorry for interrupting your conversation. Gavin, there have been comments recently in light of the accident in Pongola about moving back to rail, but that will have a detrimental effect on the trucking industry, not so?
No, not necessarily. One needs to understand that the logistics chain is a grouping of various different modes of transport. So ships, ports, air, rail and trucks. Now, trucks have a definite role to play, but they can't do everything, and that's what we're expecting the road freight industry to do now, is to pick up where rail's not doing what it needs to do. So there's some cargoes over long distances that are suited for rail, like coal or ore, and they need to run on the railway line. Otherwise, we're going to, in the first instance, destroy our roads. They're not built for that sort of volume, and we're not talking overloaded trucks. We're just talking about sheer numbers and volume. And in the second instance, we're going to, in actual fact, outperform the capacity of the road freight sector, and so you're not going to be able to move other goods. Each one needs to play its own role. There's plenty of work.
Yeah. So let's be honest about this. This is not going to happen overnight. Realistically, it won't happen in the next year even. So in the interim, to ensure the safety of everyone on the roads, what is being done by the road freight industry itself to ensure the safety of other road users, for example?
Well, remember, we're not the Department of Transport, so we don't make legislation. And not every single road transporter is a member of the Road Freight Association.
Well, in your organization, at least.
Yes, okay. So what I was going to say is, if you want to be a member of the Road Freight Association, you have to abide by a core code, and the core code speaks to a number of things, and one of them is road safety and the components of the road safety. Maintenance of your trucks, so the condition of your vehicles, tires, etc. Then the condition of your drivers. Do they operate in terms of the rest periods? Are they properly trained? Are they retrained? And then, of course, how you operate those vehicles on the road. And there are various methods and various standards that we apply, that our members apply, to ensure that they operate at a far safer level than what is required.
Thank you very much for your time, Gavin. I'll let you get back to it. That's, well, you heard there, Maseko, very simple things that need to be done, but the question is, are they being done by those that are behind the wheel of these big vehicles that are on our roads? I'll be watching out for any other interesting speakers here at the expo over the next day or so, Maseko, and we'll see if they can come up with the types of solutions that are needed to allow all of these elements to work together to move this cargo and freight across the country.
All right, senior reporter Desin Thathia with that report. Let's leave it there for